Man, you know it's a Monday win. Unbelievable, but not really. We've seen that before. Welcome to another round of Soccer's Morning Show. Soccer Down here. John here, you there. What do you want to talk about? That's kind of what Mondays are. It is absolutely wide open. You know, it's we got a lot of stuff on the table, not just with Atlanta United. We've got the twos. We've got their debut in MLS Next Pro. And that was on the Soccer Down Here app and on Spreaker and on soccerdownhere.net last night. That was fun. And we got that. We got Antonio Conte. And we got Jared Smith hopping in on a Monday. Jarrett, what is up?
It's a rainy, miserable Monday after a rainy, miserable night.
That's true. You know, I will say this.
If Ernest Hemingway wrote a weekend series, this would be it.
Yeah, pretty much. And this is our opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Once again, reminder, those of you who are watching on Twitch, that's your QR code. And don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15 when you go to Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com because you get 15% off. It's amazing what happens when you've got a number that's attached to a code, and it's the same thing. So 15% off your entire purchase every time you go to Kickoff Coffee, and thanks to everybody who has. And they, in turn, take 10% reinvested into youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. All right. We know that Mondays are reaction Mondays. Over, under, on par. Hit it. That's what it's there for. That's what this is. This is the runway at the airport for you guys to take off and talk about whatever you want to talk about, and we can talk it through, and we got plenty to talk about. So, Jarrett, let's start with last night. And what we got to witness was the first match of the twos in MLS Next Pro. And, you know, obviously, in your Hemingway-esque manner, not the start that you were looking for Atlanta United 2, but it was fun. It was fun to broadcast the match and see the fight that the guys had. Down 3-0, coming back to 3-2, had their chances in the final 20 minutes. And it was you know, obviously that last 20 minutes is what you're hunting for, you know, if you're Steve Cook. But, you know, that's your debut. And it was good to see some guys that we saw last year with Atlanta United 2. And you're off and running now in MLS Next Pro.
Yeah, you are. And it's not the start you wanted. You wanted to get a home win in Steve Cook's debut in MLS Next Pro, and you didn't get it. You put yourself in a hole. You kind of, man, part of it mimicked the first team in the sense that you went into the break down 1-0 on a weird situation because you give up a goal off of an own goal, basically deflected own goal off of Aiden McFadden. And look, like New England had the best chance early, like second minute. Then they have the one where you got a guy who rounds the keeper and puts it off the post. Like they had a couple chances there, but they didn't put them away. But they got the own goal and go into the break, and you're thinking, all right, hasn't been perfect. It's been a pretty even game. Like New England 2's pretty solid team.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, all right, just stabilize yourself after the break. And nope, there's a Golazo. That's 2-0.
Yeah. Okay,
well, now you got to climb back up. Nope, there's a header off a set piece. It's 3-0. Kind of had that feeling of deja vu, but the kids showed some cojones. As Tanaka would have said in Major League 2, they have marbles.
Marbles.
They showed they had marbles. You get the last 15, 20 minutes of the game. The last 15 or 20 minutes of the game, they really leaned and did just about everything right except tie the game, which would have been great because if y'all don't know, MLS Next Pro goes to penalties.
Yes.
This is NHL style, buddy. We go to penalties.
You get a point. Yep, you get a point for making it to the shootout, but you get an extra point if you win the shootout.
Yes. We go to NHL style, baby. The next step is to not put yourself in a 3-0 hole.
Yes.
I mean, simple, and I don't mean it in a snarky manner, but the next step is you don't put yourself in a 3-0 hole and you play like that. I think you will be fine, Nicholas Firmino. I know Nicholas Firmino talked after the game. He's kind of that next in line to kind of be that leader. It was Robbie Mertz last year. A Johnny Fortune would be an interesting case for it, but I don't know how much you'll see of Johnny Fortune because he is part of that first team picture, and I know he's not starting for the first team. But we've seen him in a couple games now, and my understanding is Gonzalo Pineda really likes the game and really likes what he brings to the table. So Firmino is that veteran guy who can really fit in and be part of that going forward. So if he can continue to be a leader and, at times kind of drag them forward, Aiden McFadden in a similar role. I mean, Aiden McFadden's trying to prove that, he's beyond this, that he's beyond USL, that he needs to be in MLS. Now, wherever that may be. Now, if he ended up, I guess part of me wouldn't be surprised if Aiden McFadden ended up as, a similar to John Gallagher sort of situation.
Yeah.
Where he proves his mettle here, and look, it's going to be tough for him to break through consistently with the first team here because you have multiple guys at left back and right back spot. It's pretty deep there, and it might be tough for him to break through. I wonder if he's the kind of guy who's going to go somewhere else and try and make that breakthrough in a way that Gallagher has. Maybe not the exact same way because they're not the exact same kinds of player, but he's trying to prove that he's ready for that. I want to see how it continues to shape out for them, because they showed you something. The next goal is just don't dig yourself into a hole. But that seemed to be an organizational thing this weekend. It was just as a weekend to forget, and you'll have those. You will always have those. You will also inevitably have some weekends that everybody just clicks and just goes and bludgeons another team into oblivion. And then you'll have in between where one team does well, the other one doesn't. It's just part of playing a damn sport, man.
Yeah. And Abby mentions the difference in the ages of the teams was visually viable. I mean, you got Rozhansky, who I want to say was 26, and at the same time, though, they had the Preston Nelson, who's 15.
Yeah, I was about to say Preston Nelson can't even Preston Nelson's on a learner's permit.
He can't have a learner's permit. He can't vote.
But you get your learner's permit at 15. Last I checked.
Yeah, but it's like you can't get a driver's license. You can't vote, but you can sure as hell be an influence for Revolution 2. 15 years old, and they had him listed at, I want to say 5'8", 5'9", and I'm thinking to myself, no. That's being too kind. Whatever measuring device you had probably needs to be recalibrated. And we did get to see some of the. You mentioned the rules that are there, and as Atlanta United 2 is down 3-2, chasing that equalizer, Jarrett, we got to see the 3-minute injury rule last night with Johnny Vial, and you really could have used him, but you're down a goal and you're having to chase that equalizer a man down because Johnny Vial, who cramped up like nobody's business, had to be treated, had to be removed, and you're removed for 3 minutes. So a lot of folks are staring at the clock going, okay, is it done? Is it done? Is it done? It's got to be done. And you really could have used Vial, even though he was still struggling when he came back in, but you could have used him under normal circumstances, but MLS Next Pro has you sit out for 3 minutes. And so Atlanta United was a man down chasing after that equalizer from 86 through 89, late 86 through late 89, or late 87 through late 90, as you were chasing that equalizer. So we got to see some of the other MLS Next Pro rules kick in as well.
Yeah, we did. And poor Johnny, man, like we were in the other press box from y'all watching it and kept thinking, like, when they're making subs, like, man, I wonder if Johnny needs to come off. Like, felt like he was, up until the goal where it kind of the momentum really shifted in Atlanta's way. It seemed like he was struggling, not necessarily playing wise, but physically.
Yeah.
And man, yeah, it just seemed like he's running out of gas quick. And then he goes down, which is one of those where look, Atlanta's got a dangerous free kick from the left hand side, and you have Highmar standing over it. Everybody's forward, and Johnny goes down. Like it surely wasn't. Surely wasn't like a matter of, he's not like time wasting or anything. Like,
No.
if he's going down in that moment and having to be helped off the field, yeah, it's bad. And because I know it took 3 minutes, and like I was saying in the press box, like, man, he might have needed all 3 of those minutes.
Yeah,
because he was in pain. Which, if you ever cramped up like that, it sucks.
Oh,
It is awful, and it's like there's not much you can do about it except just kind of let it happen.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, it's a disappointing result. It's a disappointing weekend all around. Twos have something else they can take from it, versus the first team less so. And we'll get into that here in a second, because I know people want to really dive into the first team. They don't care as much about the second team, not as an insult to the second team, but the first team had a bad night. I was thinking about it last night. I think the closest thing that comes to this in my brain,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was 2019. They went to Chicago. Pretty sure they were full strength, by the way. Went to Bridgeview and just got like curb stomped by the Fire.
Yep.
Only goal in that game came late, where like Miles Robinson basically pulled like a Bo Jackson run, because why not? It was already like 4 or 5-0, and earned a penalty, and then they converted, and you basically got the sad field goal out of it.
Yes.
But yeah, that was the only thing that came to mind, was like that Chicago game where like they went to Bridgeview and just got absolutely hit with a hammer shower.
That sounds really painful, by the way.
I mean, don't screw up. There's multiple layers to it with last night that we can get into, and I know people on par, overreactions, underreactions. It's all good, man. Like, no one wants to watch a team lose 6-1, and they're going to have thoughts about it. I don't begrudge anybody for having thoughts about it, because you work through the emotion first, and then after you work through it, you can take a step back and look at it, and take your emotion first. Go for it. Especially when you look at that scoreline, you're like, oh God, what? Oh, Ballagran has deleted all England national team photos from his Instagram. I love that we use Instagram as the measuring point of this. Yep. It's the closest thing that the soccer world has to flight aware, because my God, the SEC is still undefeated on flight aware. So
absolutely.
There are people not even in, there are people in the vicinity of Starkville, Mississippi that can track a flight better than NORAD.
You ain't kidding, brother. You've got
there was a red card in that Chicago game. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was due to the change in so MLS is always like 6 months late adopting the laws of the game. It was the change to the laws of the game about your basically your bracing arm when you're sliding, and use that arm to brace yourself up. That was a handball, and I think it was LGP. Like, had his arm bracing and the ball hit it, so it was a handball, and I think it was a red. But if I'm not mistaken, that game was already like 2 or 3-0 when the red card happened, and it was very much not going to change. Like, the red card was insult to injury, and the red card wasn't the reason they lost that night, like 4 or 5-1.
Yeah. The 4-1 game is.
I want to say it was 2019.
Yeah, hang on. So it's like SofaScore is giving me like 11 billion different games when it comes to the United Fire matchup, but they've gone way too early in giving it to me. So there was the 3-0 in July of 21. So we need show all is what we need. That's what we need. The 5-1, the 5-1 game. Yeah, the 5-1. Yes, the 5-1 match, and it was LGP in the 11th for a professional handball.
Yeah, I think it was. I think he was sliding, but he blocked it when he slid. His arm was bracing his body up, and he either blocked a shot on goal that was a very high percentage, or it blocked like a cross that would have been a tap and something like that. But it was one of those where like in a year later, it wouldn't have been a handball because it was his arm that was like he was sliding and his arm was kind of behind him, helping keep his body up. His arm wasn't tucked under him as he was sliding, but it was kind of, if you've ever done a baseball slide, that hand trailing behind, that's kind of keeping his body up off the ground. It was that. I don't know that it would have been a red card handball, a year from then. But that game was bad too.
Yep, it was.
And you were full strength for that one, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, here's your lineup, by the way.
So it can always be worse.
Well, yeah. So here's your lineup. Brandon Vasquez up top, and he scored the goal in the match in the 50th.
Yeah, he scored from the spot, I think.
When it was 5-0 at that point.
Yeah.
We had Dion Pereira, P.T. Martinez, Julian Gressel, Darlington Nagbe, who punched a 5.9, Jeff Lorenowitz, and then your back line of Parkhurst, LGP, Miles, and Franco Escobar. LGP and Brad was in net. LGP, by the way, according to our friends at SofaScore, his rating on the day was a 3.
Yeah. Hey man, LGP was incredibly capable of those. LGP was also incredibly capable of like a 9.5.
Oh, no doubt.
His range was maddening. And I will go to my grave discussing LGP that LGP at his peak in mid-late 2017 through 2018, incredibly underrated and underappreciated by the media in this country and by the soccer people in this country. And by the time he's in Miami, getting all the plaudits and everyone's talking about him at that point, he wasn't playing at that same level.
Mm-hmm.
And it is just forever maddening to me that the man didn't get nearly enough credit for being an absolute monster in 17 and 18. And by the time he was getting credit for it, it's like, he damn near set the record for yellow cards in a season.
Yeah.
And he wasn't keeping up. LGP was insanely underappreciated by non-Atlanta people. I know Atlanta people still love him. I thought he was incredibly underappreciated by non-Atlanta people when he was here, and then maybe overrated when he was in Miami because he was still good, but he was like best 11 territory in 17 and 18.
Yep, Nico Gaitan had a goal and 3 assists. 5-0 at the half, 5-1 was your final there in July of 2019. July 5th, 2019. All right. That's your opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee. KickoffCoffeeCO.com. And once again, I know that Abby wants me to fix the QR code. But there's the QR code for those of you who are watching on Twitch. And don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15 to get 15% off of your purchase when it comes to anything and everything Kickoff Coffee. Kickoff Coffee, in turn, takes 10% reinvested into youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and KickoffCoffeeCO.com. Okay. Now, there was a point that we were talking. I just want to get this. You mentioned Aiden McFadden and John Gallagher burned along those same lines.
I love every time this team struggles, then there's inevitably at least one person. I can set my watch to it whenever Atlanta United's having a bad night.
Yep.
That someone inevitably is going to tweet about how they gave away John Gallagher for nothing.
Yeah.
It's just you can set a watch to it, man.
Burns says if Atlanta lets Aiden McFadden go, it'll be the same mistake they made with Gallagher. A lot of people on the roster who make a lot more money than McFadden, who provide less value than him. I think Garth won't let them do that.
I think the only thing is that it's just tough for him to break in.
Yeah.
But if Andrew Gutman's going to be banged up for a while, then that conversation really changes.
Yeah.
Because and this is the thing, man. Like, we talked about, somebody did the math in the Discord. Atlanta accounted for 14% of the players on international duty. Could have been more if Atlanta had let Caleb Wiley go. Yeah. Thank God they didn't.
Basically, 1 out of every 7 players allowed
was on this roster.
Was on this roster, yes.
Yeah, it's I'm second to Burns. Watched a few River Plate games. LGP looks good for them. Good for him. I'm glad.
Yep.
Good for him because I thought like at the end of Miami he was struggling. And maybe he needed to go back home. Maybe he's just more comfortable there. I don't know. But good for him. Hopefully he can, just continue to ride out the rest of his career and have a good time at it. I mean, I think some of it might also do with just being at home. As far as like the people missing for Atlanta and the impact of those, what you had the other night, like with Gutman going out, you end up in a situation where like, hey, we got to drop Caleb Wiley back. And we don't you put Tyler Wolf in there, who was not good.
Yeah. I mean,
he was not good.
It looked like Tyler hadn't played for a while.
It did. But it was still
Santi Sosa. Yeah.
It was still not good. Santi Sosa, not good.
Yeah.
I would love to know where this whole national narrative is about Franco Ibarra has come from. That, man, and I get it. Like last year, Franco Ibarra was not great last year. He was wildly inconsistent, more bad than good.
Yeah.
But dude's been killing it this year. Like he has been doing what I thought Sosa would be doing.
Yeah.
And I don't know where the hell this narrative came from that Franco Ibarra is the problem, man. Like, I get it, man. He's not Diego Chara, covering space. Few players are. Diego Chara is like 37 years old, almost 38, and is still an absolute monster. But Ibarra's done just about everything you could have asked for him, and was bringing the wood Saturday night, even down late, getting stuck in on fouls, trying to get guys hyped up. I was impressed with what he gave you. I was like, man, there's a number of people in this game you can point the finger at Saturday night. He was not at the top of my list of guys you can point a finger at.
No, but
Juanjo Peralta playing a really bad ball because of a miscommunication with Miguel Berry. The last goal for me with him was frustrating because it was not dissimilar from the San Jose goal or the Chattanooga goal, where I think it was Brooks just got absolutely toasted. It's 5-1 at this point, man. Everybody's just waiting for the final whistle. Everyone wants to go home. But Brooks gets absolutely put on a spit and held out over the fire. And Peralta starts to come cover the guy and then stops. And he just kind of wanders out in the ether. And the man he was covering is the guy who finishes, because there's no one covering him at that point. Like, Peralta either has to go close that guy down and make sure he doesn't get that ball off, or he's got to stick to his man and, let Brad basically try and take a 1v1. And he's got to make that choice. But he really didn't do either one. He kind of got out there and almost like he went, man, I don't know if I should do this or not. And that was frustrating to see, because I thought Peralta's been better last few weeks. And those moments are frustrating. Go ahead.
Well, and then you had the one goal where Peralta tries to go for the slide tackle and leaves his feet and missed. And I think he went down too soon. He goes into the slide. The crew player goes around him, and it forces a situation where it's an advantage for crew with players on their feet. So, a lot of folks are looking probably at Juanjo Peralta, who had a bad game, and I know a lot of you have a
lot of people had bad games.
Yeah, I know. I mean, a lot of you who are with us this morning have pretty much taken this game, wadded it up, and thrown it in the garbage can. And that, for me, that's the way that I'm looking at it, because you will have clunkers. The fact that you had one early in the year, when 14% of the entire MLS call-up numbers are off on international duty from your roster, and you had a lot of guys who, and I mean, we can get into the Andrew Gutman injury, and I think that's probably the next point that we can look at here, is that when Columbus comes out in the formation that they come out in, they had two up top, something they hadn't done. And so what this means traditionally, and like I said, this is one of the first rules, Jarrett, that I've learned about the sport of soccer from Jason, is that at the back, if somebody's got one attacker up top, you want to have two center backs. You want to have one more than the other guy. So if they've got two up top, you need three center backs. When Andrew Gutman gets injured, you're having to juggle things formationally, and traditionally what you would do to give you that third center back, you don't have on the bench. And so you're trying to figure out
because you had 2 center backs with national team duty,
Yeah.
one of which has only played 1 game for you.
Right.
The other one was with the U.S. national team and Miles Robinson. You had 2 center backs with the national team. You also had one of your other outside backs, Ronald Hernandez, with the Venezuelan national team. If you really desperately, like, I would still say that, like, and in terms of being capable of getting forward, what Tyler Wolff didn't give you is what you would hope that Derek Etienne would have given you. So, I mean, I know it's this whole thing that people were very, and Jesus Christ, some of y'all blew up my Twitter feed Saturday. Not necessarily y'all here, but Atlanta and Columbus Twitter both, like, just like, I was getting notifications of, like, man, I am just a damn post board at this point. I was a cork board for that. I didn't care. It wasn't directed at me. Y'all do y'all. Just be respectful to another human being. Yes. But like, the missing guys like Almada hurt. Missing guys like Yakimakis hurts. Missing those depth guys, especially on the back line, where you can't, like, fill in for Andrew Gutman blowing a tire in turn 4.
Yeah,
is as much as anything. And to a couple points I saw already. Yeah, man, that midfield, like, Ibarra and Sosa, it didn't work. And I think I saw someone mention about Hazetu. Yeah, like, getting back in the fold, because, I mean, he's not a game-changing 8 particularly. I think he's good at what he does, but if you just need someone to be that metronome, that'll do it. And I think it was Katie mentioned not seeing the game. Yeah, they Atlanta, like, basically they tried to play out of the back, like they always will. Yeah. Again, it's what they're going to do. Is in their DNA. Columbus was really good with their pressure, really good laying traps. Atlanta was sloppy and got turned over a lot and gave up transition opportunities a lot and got out of shape a lot.
Yeah. And I know Katie is mentioning D mids, but like we've said, Santi Sosa looked like he hadn't played in a while.
Yeah.
And
I was wondering, like, at a certain, like, we were talking about it during the game. It's like, you know what? At a certain point in that game, I think it was like 4-0. It's like, you know what? Just pull them. Put on Allen. Put on Brennan. Put on a Johnny. Put on Firmino at that point, man. Like, you know how in a baseball game where it gets like way out of control.
Yeah, at the bottom of the 8th, and you just take the position player and you have him pitch.
Yeah, like you put D Strange Gordon out there.
Yes.
Have just put the kids out there, man. Like, whatever, because it, like a baseball game. Oh, you gave up to, like, the 2021 Atlanta, or no, 2020 Atlanta had a game where they scored 29 runs against the Marlins. Like, that was amazing. It was hilarious. It still only counts for 1 game. Yeah. So, 6 goals. It counts against 1 game. It blows up your wonderful goal difference you had built. Now you have to rebuild that sandcastle when the tide came in. But yeah, part of me was wondering, like, man, just put the kids in. I don't care. Whatever.
Yeah.
You've stabbed enough times that the nerves are dead. At this point, you're not hurting me anymore.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know a lot of you are having comments, and they vary from coach being on the hot seat to being unprepared and all these kinds of things. And, you know, like I said, this is what today is all about. Just make sure that it's all out, because then we start talking about Red Bulls. We start talking about Red Bulls 2. I know in hour number 2, we're going to be talking about Antonio Conte and what we're seeing from that. But, you know, looking at this match, you know, as much as we do, and I know that, Tom, you say that Pineda's on the hot seat, and I would vehemently disagree with that. You know,
if you hadn't started out the season, absolutely, you know, and I get it, like, you burned Portland to the ground. You burned Charlotte to the ground, granted. Yeah. Latanzio decided he basically wanted to galaxy brain the way Charlotte plays. Still don't know what the actual hell he was thinking. Right. They earned a draw Saturday night with an own goal late against Red Bulls in Charlotte, which good result for them. I mean, look, Atlanta gets Red Bulls this week, so yeah. We'll see.
And we know what Red Bulls is bringing to the table. And it's stylistically, philosophically, whatever word you want to use, it's not hard to figure them out. And so what we've seen from them so far, this season, you look at the standings in the East, and Red Bulls have only won once in their first 5, and they've only scored 4 goals. So,
hey, do you know who their one win was against?
Who was their one win against, Jarrett?
It was Columbus. It was a late goal. It was a goal of the week caliber goal from 2 weeks ago. Had Thiago Almada not hit a free kick from Rockmart, it would have been goal of the week, arguably. Their one win was against Columbus. Columbus, hey man, and to Tom's point, credit Columbus because they came out with a look that was weird.
Yeah,
they came out run that too high, and it caught you off guard a bit. And then more importantly, man, they executed. Mm-hmm. They executed that press, and they executed turning you over.
Yep.
And then on the other end of that, and this is the same thing that I've said about when you have a blowout in another sport, like in football, when we talk about college football, when you have a blowout or you have someone come back and you have a huge 28-3 caliber comeback, it requires 2 things. It requires one team operating on a different level in a positive way, and it requires the other team operating on a different level in a negative way. Yeah. You get both of those together, you get absolute mollywhoppings, and you get wild comebacks. Mm-hmm. Because I think Columbus's XG was 2 something. It wasn't even I remember watching the other game this thing's gonna be north of 3, isn't it? No, it was 2 something. They had some really damn good finishes. But yeah, man, to get those kind of games, you need to have one team, Columbus in this instance, who, while missing guys, was damn good. It's that thing of as much as I was trying to be careful about it, because as much as as disappointing as Atlanta's performance was, I don't want to take anything away from what Columbus did.
Oh no, absolutely not.
Because I don't want it to be one of those things where we bag on Atlanta so much that we dismiss the fact that, well, for Nancy, remember that dude was getting a lot out of those Montreal teams. He's going to get a lot out of these Columbus teams. Yeah. He is damn good at his job. And it was surprising because remember, he comes in and takes over Montreal when Thierry Henry bails at right before the 11th hour, before the season starts.
Yep.
And become a damn good coach, and it's been awesome to see. But I want to make sure not to take anything away from Columbus or to downplay how good and how sound they were in this game.
No doubt.
Wow, because you can do both. You can give them credit and also criticize Atlanta for sloppiness. Like I said, Santiago Sosa wasn't it, and I get he's coming back from injury, but it's one of those moments where you're saying, "Hey, I need you in this moment," and it didn't work out. Tyler Wolff, it was, "Hey, man, I know you weren't necessarily expecting this moment, but I need you in this moment," and it didn't work out. So you get everybody back in the fray this weekend. My only thing is I don't know who all is going to be ready to go.
Right. Well, you
Saturday.
Could ask Dennis. You could ask Denny Bouanga that question. I know Bam
did. Yeah, Denny Bouanga, but I mean, he came off the bench late, but I mean, I don't know how much time-wise a bunch of these guys coming back from international duty will give you. Right. So it's going to be some of these guys. And it's going to be some of them having to have a mental and emotional check with themselves of, "Hey, man, that was trash for some of y'all.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about it?" Mm-hmm. Because I promise you no one else is going to feel sorry for you. No. So you better do something about it.
No, absolutely not. So, yeah, no doubt. And you're looking at all of this, and you're going, okay, Bouanga gave you 25 minutes. He came in the 65th. And was in after a 13-hour plane ride, and 19 minutes in, he got you the goal. And that, 84th minute from Carlos Vela to give you the 2-1 win against FCD. So 25 minutes, and that's what you're staring at. And once again, we don't know who's coming back, but you assume that you might have some of the guys coming back for X number of minutes, and going up against Red Bulls, having those legs late in a match, against Red Bulls who do what they do and they don't stop. Red Bulls, you catch them at the end of the half, you catch them at the end of the game.
Red Bulls are going to do Red Bull related things. It's not we talked about this last night on the post game, John. Like, it's a fun house.
Mm-hmm.
You know what the fun house is built like. You might not know the exact mirrors that are going to be in it, but you know what you're walking into. Yep. You know it's a room full of mirrors, and the mirrors are going to try and hit you in the face.
Yep.
You know exactly what you're walking into. Red Bulls is not like there's something to be said for like the way Columbus lined up in this game, because it was you weren't necessarily expecting it yet. You hadn't seen that look from them yet.
Yeah.
Columbus threw you something a little bit different, and you did not react well to it. Red Bulls, you generally know what's going to happen with your Heartstrooper.
Mm-hmm. And so this will not be a surprise, and you're just trying to figure out who you have and how you can integrate and all of that. So that's what you're staring at when Red Bulls come to town next Saturday night. It's like it's 5 days away basically. And let me think. For Atlanta, was it a 9+2, 6+5? Like what you introduced last one? I think it's a good way to talk about it week to week. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, look at it week to week. Don't whiplash yourself, because I did something back in September to my neck, and it took me a long time. And I did this when I was sleeping, I guess. And literally it took me from September until probably 2 weeks ago to get it fixed because of one move that I made while I was sleeping. So what I would continue to ask, and like I said, everyone, you guys, we love the back and forth. Trust me, and I have seen the back and forth this morning, and Jared has seen it. What I would ask, just so you don't hurt your neck, is don't whiplash every single week. Don't. No doubt, Four-Card, it is called being old, and just the biggest thing that I would ask is take each week into its own perspective as you build toward a larger picture of what you're seeing from whatever team you want to talk about. And in this case, we're talking about Atlanta United. Take this one, wad it up, throw it in the garbage, put it in file 13, because at least in my neighborhood, I know that when I take out the garbage disappears from the curb today. And yes, it is still March. The fact that you had this match now with 14% of Major League Soccer's international call-ups not being a part of your roster, that affected not only your starters but your depth. Take it, wad it up, put it in file 13. We can talk about it. We'll talk about it as long as you want to talk about it, just so everything is off your chest in preparation for the match against Red Bulls. And we'll get into that later in the week as well. And I know that Michael had, Michael Head was in this morning, and I know that Michael, you had the asterisk toward the Apple overlords about playing in an international window, and Leagues Cup is a separate discussion, and we'll get into that this show as well. But take everything in its own part. This one was a clunker on multiple levels. And I'm hoping, and I don't know, I know that Mike and Jason had an abbreviated post-game show because they had to get to the airport, get to the plane, come back to Atlanta. I don't know how long Gonzalo Pineda had the door closed before he came out to address any kind of media questions. I would anticipate that it was longer than normal. But it might have been shorter than normal because, Jared, it can go one of two ways in this situation. You have a clunker, and you could sit there and have a discussion with your players, very one-sided, turn on the hairdryer, and you're done. Or you ask them calmly, what was this? Don't let it happen again. Fix it. Look at yourself, that kind of a thing. So I don't know what the tenor and tone was post-game. Either way that you can address things, it's as equally effective. But the biggest thing is a lot of folks have to look in the mirror, funhouse or otherwise, see what their performance was like, fix it. The fact that you've done it now, better to do it now than in October toward decision day or what have you. So just take this one, have it in its own envelope, put it in the filing cabinet or throw it away and move on to the next one. But that's what today is. Today and tomorrow, that's what it's all about. And all week, literally just, I want your thoughts off of your chest. I want them all out there so we can hash through all of them. We could sit there and work through all of them. That's what Reaction Monday's all about. It's about letting everyone know what you think and the healthy discord that we're having not in the Discord, but we're having a great, healthy discussion in the Twitch pitch this morning. And I love
the Discord is more for the sickos, and I appreciate all of you. Especially those of you who live in the other sports section with me, where we complain about every other sport. Bam, if he's still awake, with the occasional Aussie rules or the cricket matchups. Also, the Braves dropped their Brave City Connect jerseys, and I'm very upset at them. The hat is great. The tribute to Hank Aaron, great. The jersey, my God, it looks like somebody from East Cobb at a marketing firm came up with it, which just absolutely tracks. Jesus. Okay, whatever, man. Like, they're just, I want it. I have the same, I already have the philosophy with soccer jerseys, so let's transfer it over to baseball.
Yeah.
If you're going to have multiple looks, like, because Atlanta already has traditionally the home whites, the road grays, the road dark blues. They do these, I think they still do like the home reds sometimes. I loved the Braves cream home jerseys they wore on like home Sunday games back in like 2009, 2010.
Okay.
I thought it was a really nice look. It was just subtly different and it worked. If you're going to go with a City Connect, I want it to be bonkers. I want you to take risks that would get most people fired. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. If it doesn't work, we're going to laugh at it. We're going to make fun of it. And in 5 years, someone's going to be like, actually, they're going to write a think piece of, actually, that was a great shirt and we should have appreciated it more. Because you know what we're doing right now and what we've been doing for the last 5 years? We've been doing that for just about every single 1990s NBA logo and uniform, because they were all something else, man. Like the evil Iron Demon horse that the Dallas, the Denver, Jesus, all the D's, Detroit Pistons had. The Denver Nuggets look. Man, that's you're getting like also the Carmelo era, Jesus. But like the Dallas Mavericks with the dark green and the hat, our Lord and Savior, our Overlord and ruler, the Wide Hawk, that stretched across Dikembe Mutombo's chest. The angry Houston Rockets one that had like pinstripes and like had a rocket that looked like an A-10 Warthog in the front.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, man, those were great.
Well,
so if you're going to do something weird with these City Connect jerseys, I demand that you get weird with it. And if you're going to do a third MLS kit, I demand that you get weird with it. Give me make it something that people here are going to love. I don't know, man. Like, you don't even have to go Outcast. Do like Goody Mob or something. Like,
well, and I mean,
I want to. I don't care.
While you were talking, I watched the intro video, and to be perfectly honest, the only thing that bugs me, because as a kid of that era when you had the cursive Atlanta and all of that, I love the homage to, I love the multiple homages to Hank Aaron, 715 on the neck, the 44 and the keep swinging. Love that. The only thing that bugs me is the That's the only part that bugs me about the whole thing. I don't need the as a part of A. I understand where you're coming from, but that's the only part that I didn't like about it, was putting the article on next to the A.
And bam, I haven't had time to get into Major League Cricket. Also, mostly because I don't know how much you've paid attention to the NCAA tournament. The basketball tournament is just full stupid this year.
Yes, and I'll take it.
Yeah, it's UConn, who is a blue blood, and then 3 other basically party schools.
Nothing wrong with that. Well, and Katie Weaver, to your point about the Braves jersey, making an Izzy kit, neon blue with weird accents.
I dropped this idea. Okay, I had this idea, and I dropped it in our chat Saturday afternoon before the game, because I was watching the Portland Galaxy game, Y'all tell me why in 2026, on the 30th anniversary of the 96 games, Atlanta should not have an alternate or have a road kit that is that dark olive green that basically is in some way a tribute to the 96 games. If you want to have Izzy out there, fine, but go with like that dark olive green with the wreath color trim on it. Like basically what the Galaxy had. I know the Galaxy is a throwback look as well for what their past was. I don't know why Atlanta would not do that in 2026 is a 30-year anniversary for the 96 Olympics.
Yep.
Trot Izzy's ass out there. I don't care.
You have Izzy. You want to have Izzy hit the golden spike in the 26 season?
Izzy would miss.
Mm-hmm. Which would make it even funnier.
It would. The mallet would come popping back up and hitting him in the face. Yes, Coco. Every day is an East Cobb slander day.
Yes. So, you're
again, it's an inferiority complex in West Cobb. It's nothing more, nothing less. Although I will point out to you that Walton High School lost their region Friday night to Osborne in double overtime. So that was fun. Yeah, so, man. Chalk went up for us in West Cobb, looking like Randy Marsh losing the fist fight on the outfield course field, just absolutely bludgeoned, but you finally get one over. You just get one good punch in after 50 or 60 to your face.
Yeah.
That's where you're at.
Abby on the Twos jerseys, the font was so small. She was in the front row and still needed glasses to read the names compared to the
font was a choice.
Yeah. Well, that is a unified MLS Next Pro font and look when it comes to name and numbers. That is their unified font across the league. So
I think it was 2013 or 14 that Real Madrid's kits looked damn close to basically being Comic Sans. Just do that. Be weird. If you're going to be weird. Don't give me like some modified bold papyrus. I do love the slashes through the sevens personally, because that's how I write my sevens. But yeah, man, like give me some, just go full weird.
Well, I mean, and to Abby, to your point, I give the Revs credit for having white numerals, no trim on the back of the jerseys, and the fact that it was a white jersey for the Twos with the green numbers and letters made that easy to distinguish. And the size of the font for us, I mean, I think it was okay, of course. Yeah, well, it is fonts down here, OG. For us from the booth, and I say this probably because I was wearing glasses, it was okay. You could kind of see it. It was better, obviously, on the nearest half of the pitch at the fraction. As players were coming on from as substitutions, it was a little hard to pick up at times. But then, obviously, as they got closer, you're looking at the shorts and you're going, okay, is that a 2 or is that a 7? Is that a 1? Is that a 7? Those kinds of things. But once they crossed the halfway point, once they crossed the 100th meridian, then you could see, you kind of got to see who you were talking about. So
is that where the Great Plains begin?
That is true. It is absolutely true. So it was easier. It was easy to pick them up when it came to numbers and names and things. But 1s and 7s, you kind of got your 2s and your 3s. You kind of had to kind of sort your way through. So, and we have discussions about you see what you've done, Jarrett, before you go. Your discussions about East Cobb slander and Wheeler winning state basketball championships and Walton not.
I never had beef with Wheeler. I had beef with Walton.
Yeah,
Wheeler's fine. They're just kind of like, it's like Pope. For me at least, growing up in Southwest Cobb, like Wheeler and Pope were just kind of there.
Yes.
It was like Walton and Lasseter where it got like personal. I don't know why.
Well,
it just did.
Yeah, I don't know either. Good morning, Alex. How are you? Just wanted to ask that on a Monday. Parzival is saying that the new kit needs to have a tie to the Phoenix. Still is a huge missed opportunity.
The Phoenix logo from like the Paralympic Games. That'll do that one.
If you did that, if you wanted your third Blaze, yeah. If you wanted to do a third that was an homage to Blaze, and you had basically the Phoenix on the front of the jersey, or had it somewhere sublimated on the front and the back, and you had the numbers inside the flame or inside the wingspan as it expanded, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, because
Blaze, God, Blaze,
yeah,
giant ass Phoenix. It looked like a Don Bluth character from American Tail.
True, and at the same time, I still see Blaze license plates here in the state of Georgia.
My mother had one for an eternity. So
the Blaze plates still exist with folks as they're rolling through. So, yeah, and this brings me to a question: have you seen the Portland Thorns, basically like the Ed Hardy kit?
Mm-hmm.
That, to me, I like that. It took a second for me, but I like what they're doing with that Portland Thorns kit.
Pope, you mean the stepchild of East Cobb High Schools?
Yes. Go Greyhounds.
Here's the problem is I'm not from another county, so I can't speak to the inter-county relationships of like North Fulton, Gwinnett. Like John's got that, but
I got that with the cab, yeah.
John's got that in the cab especially, but John knows more of these high schools than I'll ever know because again, Georgia has a frankly disturbing number of counties in the state.
159 and 425 schools in the Georgia High School Association, sir.
Jesus. The Western East Cobb, the Lower District. Happy I grew up in Southwest Cobb.
Western East Cobb. Okay,
I grew up in Horseshoe Bend. It's not exactly like Delk Road, but it got a little weird after the sun went down. I went to sleep listening to drag races outside my window, and then when the drag races were done, I left the window open so I could listen to the possums fight in the trees.
There you go. I'm trying to figure out where the Western East District is. So East Cobb, I get it. So is that more toward actual 75 if it's the Western?
75 is the split. 75 is basically your wall.
Yes. Okay. So Western East Cobb is 75. So then if Ricky used to live in East Northeast Cobb, then you're looking at, I mean, that's almost like Canton. That's almost like Cherokee County.
And so this will be my last thing before I have to jump off.
Of course,
but yeah, I know. My goal was to throw you into a pit of chaos and then leave you to flounder. This is the whole thing where like Jaylen Brown, who played at Wheeler, where like they did some video where like he grew up in the mean streets of Marietta, one of the most dangerous places in America, and I'm like, but it's not.
No.
Granted, like I think he grew up like off Delk Road, which if you've ever been over that way at the wrong time of day, is not a place you want.
Oh, and he hit the button in the middle of the story. So I'm gonna wait and see if he comes back. But yeah, if you go one direction on Delk, you go the other direction on
just Delk, east of 75.
There you go.
Getting to Terrell Mill.
There you go.
That area.
Yeah.
He grew up over there, which, yeah, it's not great.
No.
But you have to specify that for people because if you tell people he grew up on the mean streets of Marietta, there's a lot of directions that can go.
Absolutely true. The mean streets of Marietta. Yes, absolutely. All right. So you're coming back tomorrow.
And Canton is not East Cobb. Canton is like north of me.
Yeah, no. That is not East Cobb. That is North Cobb County.
Yeah.
If not Cherokee, depending on which side of the line you're on. So geography down here starts hour number 2. We're going to see you tomorrow, Jarrett?
Yeah, that's the plan. We'll see you.
All right. So we'll see you. Jarrett leaves, which means one thing. Let's see. See if we can find it in the morning. All right. So we've dumped out of the loop because we were listening to things, and we take it down to 13. We hit rock, and we read a promo. Welcome to another week at Soccer down here, by the way, where we're reading promos at hour number 2. Florida-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go. It's a Lemonize service. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you watching on Twitch. The Lemonize service deodorizes enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. They've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use the Lemonize service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. The turnkey process makes it easy to work with said realtors and property managers. Kind of the environment, offering a green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than our favorite masking agents that we have either beneath the sink or above us in the cupboard, because when we reach under the sink or above us in the cupboard, that's a different thing. That's a masking agent. You grab that masking agent and you spray it in the air. There's a reason it's called a masking agent. It masks the odor. It doesn't attack the problem all the way down to the molecule like our friends at the Lemonize service do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing one of two ways to make it easier for you. It is either by parts per million or cubic feet to come up with a price that's affordable for you. They're offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, one thing you need to do is go to the website. And this is where I pick up my pen. Website, lemonize.com. But do us a favor here at SDH. Go /Atlanta after the .com so they know what part of the world that you are asking them to help you attack your problem. So your full homework assignment, ELIMINIZE.com/Atlanta, lemonize.com/Atlanta. Lemonize service, road free, clean, fresh air. Lemonize service, proud sponsors of everything SDH on a Reaction Monday. Try to get the fade going here. And here's when we start hour number 2. So it's great to see everybody up at the Fraction last night. And once again, to be able to call the matches on app and web. And I know that we're trying to get the issue discussed with our friends on the Apple side of things. You go to the Google Play Store, you can download the SDH app. But in the interim, for those of you that have iPhones and want to download the app, want to download the app, we'll let you know. But in the interim, go to Spreaker, download Spreaker, go through them, and in your search engine, go Soccer Down Here that way. So go to Spreaker, then go to Soccer Down Here through Spreaker if you are an Apple person. Android, you can go to the Google Play Store and download the SDH app. So, and you can also listen at soccerdownhere.net as well. So it was fun to do that last night. And it's great to be back up there at the Fraction with the twos. We'll be back up there again with Red Bulls 2 next Sunday at 7. I think it's 7 o'clock kick. So Jason on play-by-play, pregame show before and postgame show after. But once again, it was fun to be up there with Atlanta United too, and catch everything in MLS Next Pro with all the new rules and everything. So very, very cool stuff. Ricky did Spreaker yesterday, so it does function. That is good to know. So glad that, Ricky, you were able to go in that direction to make sure that you could listen to the match yesterday. So it was very, very cool. So, all right. So I know that you guys have questions and thoughts, and I know that we've got to get into all the news of the day as well. And I know that Michael had a couple of things, and I know that one of them was a Leagues Cup discussion, and I wanted to get into that. And I've got to find it. Yeah, Coco, size in Apple forcing Major League Soccer to play through an international window. But like we talked about it last week. You know, you got a hit show. You're going to want everybody to see the hit show. You don't want to take a break. You don't want to be like Ross. We were on a break. No, you want to make sure that you're showing something in episode 5 that, you don't want to break any kind of a momentum. And when you're also paying $200 million per season, maybe later in the year, you're going to have the opportunity to either not play. But once again, it's also later in the year. I think it's also a club thing too. It has been in the past where clubs can opt to play in windows. And you'll see those couple of games. You'll see like 2 or 3 where you'll have teams who will sit there. No, we want to play during an international window to stay sharp and then avoid schedule compression later on. And so we get into that as well. Yeah, Hutcho, absolutely. 4-card posting from FIFA Media. Uh-oh. Am I going to have to hit the breaking news sounder? Because I know that there's some other stuff that is going on this morning. I know that we're going to have to discuss. It won't be breaking news. Yes, that is definitely what I was going to be discussing. So we will get into this, where FIFA has renewed a memorandum of understanding with the ECA. And there's some news out of that with the European Club Association. Chairman Nasser Al-Khelaifi, they signed a renewed MOU between FIFA and ECA at the General Assembly in Budapest. So we'll be getting into that as broken news. Well, so it gives me a chance to hit the sounder. Well, and Michael, I think that to your Leagues Cup discussion, we'll go ahead. All right, so we'll get into the Leagues Cup discussion. All right. I know that Michael is not a fan of Leagues Cup. I am, and I know that there are those who are like Michael, and I know that there are those who are like who share the same opinion that I do. I like the idea of Leagues Cup. You're suspending league play for the entirety of the tournament, and I know that creates some schedule compression before and after, and all that kind of stuff. And so Michael's question is, which one's more important, Leagues Cup or the integrity of the regular season? Michael also mentions the fact that you have more than 60% of the teams getting into the postseason. And I would say once again that with leagues that so let me ask you this. So I will pose it this way. I mean, I get why it's being done, and I'm looking at it that way. I'm looking at it strictly as a TV series. This is how I'm looking at Leagues Cup. I'm looking at Leagues Cup and the playoffs as part of a larger TV series, which is what this is to Apple TV. It's a television show. Just so happens that it has the possibility of 14 or 15 episodes a week, and you have to make sure that all the episodes air. And if there's a chance for the special Saturday night crime movie, whether it's Banachek, McMillan and Wife, Columbo, what have you, and if you haven't seen Poker Face, very, very nice take on those mystery movies of the 70s with NBC, especially all the way down to the font. But I'm looking at it strictly as a television series. And where Leagues Cup is concerned, it is a very special blossom. And it goes for an entire month. And I know what it does is it makes us wait for the stretch run for the playoffs. Where the playoffs are concerned, and I'm going to ask this question. Where Leagues Cup is concerned, and I burned and Tofka, I know that you guys have comments, and I'll post them here in a second. When it comes to Leagues Cup itself, I get the idea of wanting to promote your leagues and go up against the best in your hemisphere. And the fact that you decided to have this agreement and go head-to-head with Liga MX, I think it's great for Major League Soccer. I do. Because if you want to challenge yourself with the best in this hemisphere, then you do that with Leagues Cup. The playoffs. All right, here's my question for you all. If you're a baseball fan, what was your initial reaction when and this is of people of a certain age, when they brought in the wild card, then B, when they expanded the wild card? So it's a two-part question. If you're a fan of college football, what did you think of the bowl season as it was, where New Year's Day you had rose, sugar, citrus, you woke up at 11 o'clock in the morning, you had all the bowl games, and they were in their traditional slots. Charlie Jones was calling the Fiesta Bowl for NBC, and then you had Keith Jackson calling the Sugar Bowl for ABC. When you had the bowl system as it was, then you introduced the college football playoff. What was your response to that? In college football, we go through the CFP. In the National Football League, you had a wild card introduced. It wasn't just conference champs. You had wild card introduced. Then you had wild card weekend introduced. What did you think about that? In the NBA, if you're a basketball fan, what did you think when it was originally 8? Then you have this wild card thing happening now in the NBA. National Hockey League, it's always, well, now that they've had more teams grow and grow and grow, it's always 8. In college basketball, when the NCAA tournament had, was it 48? And it expanded to 64. What did you think then? Then what did you think when they expanded from 64 to 68? You had your first 4. Or you now, I guess they call it the opening round in Dayton, Ohio. What did you think when all of those things happened in your favorite sport, whatever it was? What did you initially think, and what do you think about it now with time having passed? That's my question. I think what you're seeing here, once again, specifically, in the short term, I'm viewing it as a television series. And I've made no secret that I've viewed this entire thing as a television series. Like last week, we got into the discussion about bye weeks and Friends. Pivot! You can't have we were on a break. You can't have Ross pining for Rachel and then take a break for something that is a new property for a network. And you can't have that if you're Major League Soccer right now. That's why you have all these episodes and you're trying to create content to try and come up with something that will have you break even at $200 million. So you create more episodes of a television series. You come up with a Sunday mystery movie, meaning the Leagues Cup. You have all of these different things to try to attract eyes to this new product, much like Amazon is doing with the National Football League. When Amazon, this is another question, when Amazon picked up the Thursday night contract from NFL Network and whoever else had it. See, I'm even forgetting who had it. What did you think when Amazon picked up Thursday Night Football for the National Football League? You're trying to find ways as a streaming service to have eyes attracted to you. So you say you're going to broadcast everything. You're going to do all of the games. You're going to do Leagues Cup. You're going to do MLS Next Pro. You're going to have playoffs. And it just so happens that what you're going to do also is have a new playoff format introduced. I still think that it is a first step toward other things. As you get to 32 and you get to 1 and 8 and hopefully reseed and all those kinds of things in 2 legs. I'm hoping that this is the first step in a postseason to 2 legs all the way through, but that's just me. Is it going to happen? I don't know. But I'm hoping that this is done in stages. This is the first stage of having 2 legs in a postseason. That's what I'm thinking here. Because if I'm Apple and I'm looking for episodes for a television series and I'm trying to create more episodes, then this is what I do. But you don't want to slam all this stuff in a playoff picture on at once. If you're the National Football League, you go wild card, you see how successful it is, you add a second wild card. Major League Baseball had a wild card, you add another one. You add these layers over time, and I think that that's what Apple is doing here. Like I said, I'm viewing this specifically as a television series where Apple is trying to get as much inventory as possible and figure out, okay, how can we get as many eyes to subscribe to our streaming services, and maybe they'll watch Ted Lasso. Maybe they'll watch Shrinking. Maybe they'll watch, the other things that are a part of our network. So that's my view on it. All right, now that I've gotten that off my chest, burned. The fact that Apple does not understand how FIFA windows work concern me. If they want to drive the development of MLS over the next 10 years, they need to understand the sport they just bought into. True, but at the same time, they've just cut a big check. And when you cut a big check that helps out franchises and helps out growth of the league, you're pretty much going to sit there and say, hey, what do you want to do? At least early on anyway, until things even out and everyone, where Apple and MLS are kind of working and it's like, okay, this is working. Now what do we do? Right now, I think you're sitting there and you're talking to your friends at Apple going, okay, how can we How can we make this work where we're getting as many eyes as possible? How can we get as many TV episodes out there as possible so folks will continue to sample and watch and possibly come up with favorites? And, hey, they're going to watch 360, or they're going to watch the games, or they're going to watch the individual content from the teams. That's why you have all of these different things going on here. That will be interesting to see when it comes to how this relationship develops. Tafka and Leagues Cup. Hugely important part of expanding the league's viewership and fandom, but things can be done better. I'd rather have Leagues Cup than 2 extra regular season matches. MLS needs better schedulers. Yes, Tafka is available for hire. His schedule is posted on Twitter. For those of you that don't have access to things, Tafka has posted his schedule, and it works its way through all of the tournaments and gets us into December. Tafka wanted to go head-to-head with the SEC championship, or at least be in the same neighborhood. So Tafka's got it either to late November in one version or into December with another. Go to his Twitter, check out his photos. It's in like the media section under Tafka's deal. So check out how Tafka is working the schedules. Hutcho, understand Apple's making a bid for EPL. Wonder what sort of outside influence on the schedule they'll demand. It might be kind of like the Masters. And also, I think that what you're looking at is Major League Soccer as the petri dish for how in 7 years, I think that's how many years are left in the deal. So that puts it to 2030. So when NBC has to renegotiate in 2029 after the Women's World Cup and that window opens, I think that what you're seeing, if Apple is bidding on Premier League, that this is the petri dish right here when it comes to programming, episodes, on demand, all of the ancillary stuff. This is what they're doing with Major League Soccer. They're sitting there saying, okay, well, we've done this with this soccer property, and here's why we can do it with yours. So I think that Major League Soccer is a petri dish under Apple TV's window. Ricky, seems like a proper kickoff to Leagues Cup would have been an all-star game. As frankly, and this goes back to what we were talking about last week. I want Major League Soccer to have an all-star game with itself. I don't think we need the outside influences anymore. We don't need Juve with a bunch of kids in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. We don't need Arsenal with 60s, 70s, and 80s, unless Trent Alexander-Arnold comes in wearing his number. I think that MLS can do it itself. Or if you want to have some kind of a joint all-star game where you do the pickup kind of a thing and you get to choose, if Gignac ever decides to get vaccinated, allegedly, to have, if you wanted to pick Gignac on your team, and you had the Royal Rumble set up like we were talking about a week and a half ago. You did that with Liga MX stars and MLS stars or whatever, and you had them all put together, something like that. I could see that. Michael, I have a feeling you know how I feel about the World Classic in MLB, the wild card in Major League Baseball. College football situation is different, as there was no playoff structure at all, so you are for the college football playoffs. But then let me ask you this. BCS versus CFP. BCS comes in, what did you think? CFP changes it, what did you think? So what did you think about that run? Yeah, Ricky. Best of 5 in the first round, best of 7 in the NBA. Stuff like that. Tafka, scheduling earlier. Our schedule guru, Tafka. On scheduling earlier, it's practically a guaranteed necessity when the World Cup 26 comes. MLS can't take off from early June till late August, which is what would be necessary to do to both tournaments. Suggest playing Leagues Cup in non-World Cup years, probably ends up being the case, and award extra CCL spots to the regular season tables of each league. Yeah, EPL is going to EPL, Michael Head. Think of it as the Masters. You come in, you want to splash the cash, and you want to sit there and go to the EPL and go, well, how about this? No. How about this? No. How about this? No. We'd like to thank you for your suggestions. We'll take them under advisement. Door closes. And the advisement is going to be that we're going to take this, tear it in half, and put it in the garbage can. Yes, quite. Yes. We'd like to thank you for your interest, but no, we're not going to be changing anything. We're not going to have 22 teams. Not going to have expanded playoffs. Not going to have any kind of change in the point structure, anything like that. No. We've done things a certain way, and if you'd like to do them our way, then you're more than happy to come by. And if you'd like to cut us a larger check than, say, Comcast has in the past, then you're more than welcome to be considered to be broadcasting the Premier League matches. Yes, quite. But change? Oh, no. We can't have change. There'll be no change. 20 teams, 3 points for a win, 1 for a loss. 3 teams will be relegated. No more, no less. We're not going to be like Liga MX and make sure that there are no clubs that are relegated. It's not a part of our structure. No. Anybody that wants to dance with the Premier League, it's like dancing with the tournament in Augusta. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, sir. No, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. It's exactly what it will be. Top wants 3-tiered playoffs, 7 rounds. Hey, well, you know what? If you suggest that to Apple, they may take it under advisement because it's more inventory and more episodes. Hutch, got a 3-month free subscription to Apple TV when you purchased your Roku Stream Bar. Because you had the new subscription, you only had to pay $80 for MLS Season Pass, still in the first free month. Nice. Well done. Yes, Ricky, Apple in the UK and their relationship would be vastly different than Major League Soccer. Yes, in Tafka. Yeah, we won MLS Cup December 2nd. And yes, Hutcho, NBC will definitely fight like hell to keep their EPL rights because that is a tentpole for Peacock, as is the WWE as we get closer to WrestleMania and Lassiter high graduate Cody Runnels chasing after any kind of a championship. Tafka, do All-Star match on the same week as the CCL final. CCL final requires a weekend anyway. Use that week. All teams are off. All-Stars play on the weekend night that is not based on the CCL. Just turn it into a weekend extravaganza. Ricky, BCS was crap. He loves the CFP. Michael, BCS was better than nothing. CFP is better, but they should remove 1 game from the regular season for player safety, which they won't do. Okay. You want to get into that? We can talk about what goes on in Division I AA. I just dated myself with that reference. FCS. Division II, Division III. They don't. You want a real playoff structure? Go to Division I AA. Go to FCS, sorry. Division II, Division III. They take no break. Division I FBS takes 3 weeks off. Or 2, well, depending on your last game. Safe to say, if you're in one of those bowl games that starts around the week before Christmas, you've gotten probably 2, if not 3 weeks off. You're still practicing. FCS, D2, D3, NAIA, no break. Talk to them about that. 4-card wants to go to Apertura Clausura, spring and fall. Uncle. It was the Columbus match was discussed in the first hour. I mean, but it's still, Unc, you can absolutely talk about whatever you want. You can drop your comments in because, I mean, folks will still want to talk about it today. They'll want to talk about it tomorrow as we get ready for Red Bulls. They'll want to talk about it then. We did talk about it in the first hour, but that does not mean that we're not going to continue talking about it. Michael. Yeah. I'd pay to be in the room when Apple asks the EPL for a midseason tournament with the Bundesliga. That'd be hilarious. You're looking for what? You're looking for time off from our teams. You can have a crossover tournament with our friends from Germany. Oh, I don't believe that's going to happen. Thank you. Thank you for your interest. The answer is no. Doesn't matter what the question is or what the timetable is. We could do something preseason. We could have a nice preseason tournament. Preseason, yes. When you're having your tours of the Americas. Yes. Quite. Yes, if you'd like to have a preseason tournament, that we might be able to arrange that. Could you please discuss this with our friends over in Germany at the Bundesliga? Yes. Preseason tournament, yes. Anything inside the scheduled structure of our league during the year, no. We are not going to do anything to disturb our beloved Boxing Day in the festive fixtures period, where teams will play 3 matches in 8 days, sometimes even less days. Because because going from Boxing Day to New Year's, you have to play at least twice. But no, we won't have anything in that period with any other league. So, preseason, perhaps. We'll take it under advisement. Well, I mean, theoretically, Michael, they would. They would. Michael, all teams in the playoffs, Apple would be happy too, but then you really do water it down. You get your opening. This is basically the NBA. You get that opening round. You get the opening round 8-9. Then this one for me, like I said, this is the way I would do it. And literally, with your 8-9, it's a 1. It's 1 and done. Drop in. Whoever wins gets the 1. Then go 2 legs all the way through. If you don't want to do 2 legs in the championship, don't make it a championship series. Make it a championship game. That's fine to me. But what I would do if I have to have an 8-9, 8-9's a one-off. Debating whether or not to play the extra 30 before you go into a shootout. 8-9, if it's a one-off, whatever, great, fine. Then from there, round 2, your round of 8, your round of 4, all the way through. That's 2 legs for me. I'm hoping that that's the next stage in this. 2 legs. And then your championship, I'd like it to be a championship series so each market can experience it. If you do, you do. If you don't, I get it. But what we've seen from Liga MX is that they are not afraid to go Wednesday, Saturday, Thursday, Sunday with 2 legs. It's been done. So the Major League Soccer can look to the south, see the playoff template, and know that it can be done with 2 legs. That's me. That's with an 8-9. 8-9 is 1. Everybody else is 2 legs. I'd love for a championship series to be 2 legs. Don't know if you would go that. But once again, I'm giving more content and more episodes to this television series. So we'll see what happens. 4-card, if you're in and out, let me know if we need to go back quickly and we can catch you up. Yeah, I mean, games are flexed, yes. Yeah. So time and day for TV. But it's still in that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It's not, all over the place. And by the way, the Aztecs, my sister, full disclosure, is an alum. And after their victory over the University of Alabama, I texted my sister and congratulated her on saving the country from evil after knocking off the team from Tuscaloosa. And she had to actually go look up what I was talking about. Shows how much of a sports fan she is. So that's but we would like to thank the Aztecs for their win and saving us all from a fate worse than anything else. True. Yeah. And Michael, yeah, they do. Mentioning about one FCS and 1AA. Only schedules 11 regular season games. Yes. But then they go straight into playoffs. And then you have, I think that there are seeds that don't, I think the top seeds don't play in that first weekend, but you still have teams that could make runs that would play in that opening weekend. Yes, that is absolutely true, Unc. Any Bama loss is a happy day. Why can't we post pictures in this format? Tafka, shoot out links. Let everybody see them. Okay, so Tafka wants to do pictures. Yes, they are. And that's what I said. That's what I texted my sister and I said, San Diego State, thank you for saving us from a fate worse than evil. All right. So, yes, all playoffs all the time. So, basically, it just starts in week 1. Hutcho, it starts in week 1. That's your playoffs. We start there. Everything's a playoff. And then you were 18, 8, and 4 in the playoffs. Figured out that way. Okay, so Tafka's tiered playoffs. Here's Tafka's explanation since he can't post pictures. Post links, Tafka. Post links in the Twitch pitch so folks can see them. Tiered playoffs. Tiers 2 and 3 begin the playoffs. Tier 1 completes the regular season, narrowed down to the lower two-thirds of the league to 2 teams. Conduct playoffs with the Tier 1 teams. Takes 7 rounds total. So how many extra matches is that? And is this a substitute for Leagues Cup? Or is this the end of it all? I think if I remember your pictures correctly, this was part of it. It had Leagues Cup. You took the break, and then you accelerated from there into either late November or early December, if I remember correctly. 3-game playoff to settle the playoff. I mean, well, Hutch, you had some leagues that would do that. And you would have, but that's what you were hunting. That's what you're hunting for in some spots. But then you're giving the home team that third match, I imagine. That, like I said, that might get a little cost prohibitive and schedule prohibitive. At least that's what I would think. So, keep an eye on that. So, all right. Once again, keep all your thoughts coming in the window and in the Twitch pitch, and we'll go over them for. I don't know if they did, Unc. I don't know if they did post the post-match presser. That would be on the YouTubes if something is there. But I imagine because of the team trying to get out of town, I don't know if they had the time to assemble, have the press conference, turn around, post it, and go. Because, literally, Mike and Jason's postgame show, if I remember correctly, was 14 minutes. Literally, they were trying to get out of town, to get on a plane, and try to avoid all of the madness that hopefully you've all avoided, and hopefully you all are okay with all of the weather that has happened here, especially those of you in the western frontier of us here at SDH. All of that. Okay, so Tafka has posted. Thank you for the link. Tafka has posted his playoff format. There it is. There is your playoff format, courtesy of Tafka. All right, so Twitch pitch away when it comes to Tafka's format, and let us know what you think. Okay. I guess, obviously we can talk about Antonio Conte and the possibility of who's next, and we'll talk about who's going on there. But stuff this morning, and obviously we'll get into other things, whatever's on your mind. That's what Reaction Monday is all about. And so that means that since this happened, I got to make sure that I'm properly volumed here before I start this. And it's like I was doing other things, and I'm like, oh, crap. So here we go. All right, we mentioned it earlier. FIFA President Gianni Infantino, European Club Association Chair Nasser Al-Khelaifi have signed a renewed memorandum of understanding between FIFA and the ECA in Budapest, Hungary. The long-term agreement until the end of the year 2030 reinforces the relationship, and this is FIFA's wording, so this is not me just saying what I'm thinking here. This is FIFA's wording. This is the FIFA release. Long-term agreement includes a renewed commitment by clubs to adhere to the international match calendar, which received the unanimous approval of the FIFA Council 2 weeks ago. Until 2030, and ECA confirmed their support for the new FIFA Club World Cup from 2025. 12 European clubs, a yearly game between the winner of Champions League and the winner of an intercontinental playoff, and FIFA's Women's Club World Cup to be created. The club benefits program, which compensates all clubs who release players for the Men's World Cup, will now increase from $209 million for the 2018 and 22 FIFA World Cup to $355 million for the 26 and 30 tournaments. Quoting Gianni Infantino, significant day for the future of football and its long-term stability. Very happy to renew and strengthen our cooperation and agreement with ECA, an important stakeholder representing clubs from all over Europe, to have the international match calendar endorsed by ECA provides the necessary balance between club and national team football, have exciting projects ahead, including the new FIFA Club World Cup in 25, new FIFA Women's Club World Cup. Close collaboration with clubs in Europe and the rest of the world will be essential for the success of those events, end quote. Nasser Al-Khalifi, paraphrasing from the release, it's 3 sentences. Delighted to have signed this landmark agreement, recognizes central roles of clubs in football globally, ensures they're properly represented, decision-making around issues which affect them. I don't know if the women's game was told that they were going to be having said Club World Cup, but okay. FIFA and ECA now will establish closer working practices on a future revamped Club World Cup, including sporting and commercial aspects for the 2025 edition, working together on future editions, including on potential structures for managing the commercial rights going forward. They're keeping an eye on what happened with this current World Cup situation. Look forward to working closely with FIFA over the coming months and years to ensure the benefits of the new and expanded competitions in both men's and women's football are properly shared across the ecosystem. So, from, where was it? It was Ben Jacobs who had the details on it. Pledge to not arbitrarily change the calendar. And so there's that. So I'm trying to see if there's anything else that came out of it from Ben's analysis of it. Let's see. FIFA to pay clubs around $370 million for sending players, 75% more than for the tournament in 2022. Sky News also understands the European Club Association to end opposition to the 32 team club World Cup with talks to sell the commercial rights with FIFA. And so that was what so that's Rob Harris. And so we'll keep an eye on that as well. Also this morning, obviously we got to talk about Antonio Conte. And it appears that Christian Stellini, Conte's colleague, is going to take charge until the end of the season. According to Stellini, the news is still a surprise. And once again, this comes from after Conte's rant of the ages, after the draw with Southampton. Ryan Mason will be assistant head coach. Conte, 16 months in charge, then dumped out of the FA Cup and Champions League, leaving them without a trophy for another season stretching back to 2008. Daniel Levy. 10 Premier League games remaining, have a fight on our hands for a Champions League place. We all need to pull together. Everyone has to step up to ensure the highest possible finish for our club and amazing loyal supporters, end quote. If you forgot, Antonio Conte the contract was set to expire at the end of the year anyway. I haven't thought that it was going to be renewed. Conte was not going to renew it. A, because of his health, because of the gallbladder surgery, because of the recovery, and because of losing 3 close friends. I think that he was looking in the mirror and he's just like, nah, I'm going to go spend time with family and friends and just kind of decompress a little bit because it's been a heavy year. So, up 3-1, draw 3-3 with Southampton. I'm not used to seeing this type of situation. I see a lot of selfish players, and I don't see a team. We are 11 players that go into the pitch. I see selfish players. I see players that don't want to help each other out and don't put it in their heart. Asked to explain the collapse, Conte said, because they're used to it here, they're used to it. They don't play for something important. They don't want to play under pressure. They don't want to play under stress. It is easy in this way. Tottenham's story is this. 20 years there's the owner, and they've never won something, but why? The fault is only for the club or for every manager that stay here. Nagelsmann open for talks. Battling for top 4 right now. Newcastle 2 points behind them, 2 less matches played. 1 point behind Manchester United, who've also only played 26 matches. Spurs have played 28. So a lot of folks thought that after Conte's rant after the Southampton draw that his time was really going to be short. And it turns out that it was. Stellini was going to take training over. So here's what Spurs have remaining. At Everton, and now Everton's gone to an independent panel about possible FFP violations. Brighton at home, Bournemouth at home, at Newcastle, home to Manchester United, at Liverpool. See, and this is a schedule that's manageable here. This is a schedule that's manageable. You have Newcastle, home to Manchester United, at Liverpool. But the problem with that stretch is that it's 3 matches in a week and 2 of them are away. That's late April. Home to Crystal Palace, at Villa, home to Brentford, at Leeds on decision day. So if you can navigate that 3 matches in a week, you should be able to do well here and perhaps save that European spot. Stellini has experience. He stepped in for Conte when he was suspended for the Champions League group stage win at Marseille. Got wins over Manchester City, West Ham, and Chelsea. Interview back in February, the relationship he has with the players. He was asked about it, quote, "They're focused in this aspect. I feel very good and comfortable because when I look in the players in the eyes, I feel they're taking more responsibility because Antonio's not here." This was back in February when Conte was suspended. "Also take care of me because my relationship with them is special, like every assistant manager needs to have. I feel that players want to do it also because they like our work together. My feeling is not to enjoy this, his spell as interim. My feeling is to be responsible. I feel the pressure in the moment to be responsible. It's a moment that I need to grow as a coach. And when you have to take important decisions, you have to feel responsible." So Stellini is there for the remainder of the year. So, Abby, yeah, don't Conte on me any longer, folks. Okay, well done, Hutch. Abby, we will see you later. Once again, it was great to see you and everybody up at the Fraction last night for the Twos in their season opener against New England Revolution 2. Yes, manageable, keyword, absolutely. So that's what you're staring at. Stellini is there. And same fate as Jose Mourinho. 4th time in 4 years, Daniel Levy has fired a manager. Pochettino, Mourinho, Nuno. 2nd time in 23 months, a caretaker takes him to the end of the year. 21, it was Ryan Mason. And he's now going to act as the assistant to Stellini. So a lot of folks are not happy with the plan that Spurs have come up with over the last 2 decades. But we'll see. So, quoting our friend David Byrne, for those of you who are watching on Twitch, same as it ever was. You may ask yourself, how do I work this? If you had talking heads on the bingo card this morning, there you go. Check that one off. Also, this morning, we've got news. We'll get into gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and we'll get into the papers, things left unsaid, all that kind of stuff. Once again, throw your thoughts in when it comes to a Reaction Monday on anything and everything. Obviously, well, same as it ever was. Although I could do this, to do the David Byrne where he's, or the swimming against the chroma key. If we had chroma key here on the show, then you could sit there and work it all out. But yeah, more often than not, Michael Head, when you're looking at Spurs, Sean Vergara probably could absolutely agree, especially over the last 10 years, same as it ever was. Yeah, where's my big suit? I could wear a big suit, but then once again, you'd only see me from like the waist up. Yeah, where's my big suit? That's the thing. That would be part of it too. But yeah, same as it ever was when it comes to Spurs. But like I said, lay out your thoughts. We got another 20 minutes. So whatever's on your mind for about anything going on, could be Atlanta United, could be MLS, could be the Twos, could be anything off the board. We can take the tour of what else is news this morning. And the guys who could be the new manager at Spurs. Now that Thomas Tuchel is now at Bayern. Nagelsmann, Pochettino, De Zerbi, although I don't think De Zerbi is going to leave Brighton. And, do you bring back Pochettino for unfinished business? Brendan Rodgers. Sorry, Nix. Michael Carrick. Ange Postecoglou. Jared will fight you on that one. Luis Enrique. So that's what you're staring at right now. The poll that is being conducted in the Telegraph has more positive votes for Julian Nagelsmann than anybody else. So Nagelsmann would be the choice. And I know that Bernd has discussed what it would be like to have Conte have a Nagelsmann as the manager. So you have all of that going on. You've got the international play going with everybody over in Europe. And I'm trying to scan to see what else is going on news-wise before we get into gossip, rumor, and innuendo. A couple of stories in The Guardian that would be the requested reading today. One, and I know this will surprise you, the country that held the tournament to determine a world champion over Thanksgiving and Christmas. Headline: I haven't earned a single real. Qatar migrant laborers left stranded and jobless after the World Cup, and apparently also all of the rights that were being espoused. The second the world press left, went back to where they were. Color me surprised. From Pete Pattison in Doha. I will just read the first paragraph or two, and then once again, requested reading over at The Guardian in the football section. Migrant workers from West Africa say they've been left stranded, destitute, and jobless just 100 days after the end of the tournament, despite claims that the tournament would leave a legacy of better workers' rights in the country. Guardian interviewed men with so-called free visas, under which they must find their own jobs, who say they've been out of work for months. Some can barely afford to eat. Others are so short of money they've been forced to plead for help from their impoverished families back home. Names were changed, obviously, with some of the interviewees. Guardian spoke to other workers from Nigeria and have been duped into paying vast sums to enter on Haya cards, the permit required to visit the country during the World Cup, falsely promised by recruitment agents in their own country that Haya cards can be converted into work visas on arrival. Validity of the card was recently extended into 24, but it can be used only for tourism, leaving the victims deep in debt, unable to legally work and struggling to return home. So that is article number one for requested reading for the day. The other one is, where is it? It was the Sierra Leone story, and it was an in-depth piece about, and I want to find it to make sure that I don't misquote it, but it had to do with the status of the Football Association in Sierra Leone and how abuse is going on there as well. Okay. From the Observer, Ed Aarons, Romain Molina, and Alex Chismic. I've seen hell. The allegations rocking women's football in Sierra Leone. Claims of sexual harassment and poor facilities accompany questions over Isha Johansson, who says she did all she could as the country's FA head. And Johansson left the SLFA, and she is now at a larger job and claims to have raised cases up for possible review and punishment. But where is Johansson now? I've read the article, and of course, you don't highlight things. Johansson mentions disciplinary committees. So 2021, Johansson left the SLFA for a job on a FIFA council. There we go. Took up a seat on the FIFA council. So those are your two articles about what's going on in Sierra Leone and what's going on in the nation that hosted the World Championship tournament back in November and December. Other couple of news and notes from The Guardian. Thomas Tuchel moves to hire Chelsea coach Anthony Barry, who joined him in 2020, works with Portugal as well. Tuchel wants Barry to join him at Bayern. Chelsea has to give the okay for Barry to talk and for Barry to leave, But Thomas Tuchel spoke about his desire to bring the coach out publicly without talking to Chelsea first, allegedly. So you're looking at Anthony Barry, wanted by Thomas Tuchel at Bayern, but Tuchel mentioned it publicly. He didn't go around in through business circles and talk to Chelsea behind closed doors and behind the media and say, I'd like to have Anthony Barry as a part of my staff. And so Chelsea's mad. And, right now, Thomas Tuchel's still trying to get his staff together. We mentioned what's going on with Everton and FFP. Chelsea claims that the Roman Abramovich sanctions are a factor in their £121 million losses. The government took action against them last March, and they don't take into account recent spending. Chelsea claims that UK government sanctions imposed were the factor for the losses. Abramovich was sanctioned a year ago as the government wanted to freeze the assets of individuals believed to have connections to Vladimir Putin after the invasion of Ukraine. Chelsea were placed under a special license that restricted their ability to sell tickets, accept event bookings, and sign contracts with players. Restrictions remained in place until Bowley Clearlake bought Chelsea and completed their takeover. Turnover had increased to £481.3 million from £434.9 million. Despite the sanctions, and commercial revenue increased to £177 million. Losses attributed to increased operating expenses. Financial results do not capture the Bowley Clearlake spending spree, where they spent more than $500 million on players. Results in 21-22 have the profit of $123 million made on sales of Tammy Abraham, Mark Gahey, Tomori, and Zuma. Chelsea says they continue to comply with UEFA and the Premier League financial regs despite the losses and impact of the government sanctions. Club also said the effect of the sanctions on their financial results would continue to be felt in the following years. So we got to keep an eye on that. That is the question. Well, Alex, how did I get here? Hutch. Okay, so this. Wow, okay. I did not know this. Hutch with the trivia note of the day. 9 hours, 36 minutes, and 10 seconds to reach the 1,048,576 throw of an Excel spreadsheet by perpetually pressing the down arrow. Did you do this yourself, or did someone do it for you? Yeah. Michael says he hopes that FIFA is happy with holding a World Cup in the worst location in the world. Yeah. As long as the check clears, I don't think they care. And that's why my gut tells me 2030 will be in Saudi Arabia as a part of the Saudi 2030 campaign. And just keep an eye on that. I want to know where the 2031 World Cup is going to be for the women. And my gut tells me 27 will also be the World Cup for the women will be in the United States, or it'll be another hemispheric event like we're seeing with the 26 World Cup. So picture this hemisphere for 26 and 27, 30 as much as it needs to be in the anniversary positions for the 100th anniversary. I don't know. And then keep an eye on Saudi Arabia for 2030 and 2031. So I have no clue how much that is in ounces. You're asking math problems for me, and I have no answers for things like that. Oh, absolutely. I'm right there with you, Ricky. Missing an opportunity to be in Uruguay for the 2030 World Cup would be so bad. Oh, yeah, absolutely it would. That's where it should be. But can Uruguay and a couple of other nations host it and make sure that the infrastructure is in place and all that kind of stuff? Or could FIFA put profits aside? I know that the answer is coming out of my ears as I'm saying these sentences. Help with the infrastructure. Could FIFA help with the infrastructure build in Uruguay to make sure things are okay by 2030? You've got 7 years as of right now. Make the announcement that it's going to Uruguay and a couple of other countries nearby. Then help with the infrastructure. Make sure that it is a lasting infrastructure. And then Uruguay gets their celebration for the 2030 World Cup. I know that makes too much sense. I'm sorry I presented it to the floor. I'm absolutely profoundly sorry. I shouldn't have done it. But that's on me. Yeah. I still think it's going to be Saudi Arabia in 2030. Be interesting to see where it goes 2030 and 2031. Tafka, there's nothing wrong with being optimistic about locations for the World Cup. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Because all of us here want what's best for the game. What's best for the game in 2030 would be having it in Uruguay and probably another couple of countries attached. But money talks, power and influence, all of those buzzwords that, that are attached to these kinds of things, it all sticks to it. So does my gut tell me that it's going to be Saudi Arabia? Sure. Would I like to be wrong? Sure. Am I going to hold my breath until it happens? No. That wouldn't necessarily make the best content, except possibly seeing my face turn the same shade as some of the scarves and things behind me here in Office HD. So, nothing wrong with wanting what's best. Absolutely not. Absolutely nothing wrong with wanting what's best for the game, because that's what we all want. Whether it's supporting our local team, whether it's high school, college, alma mater, local team, regardless of division, third, second, first division here. Bam with what he supports in Australia, plus his work with LAFC. Yeah, Denny Bwanga, not bad. We talked about that. 13-hour plane ride, 25 minutes in, 25 minutes of play, 19 minutes in, you score a game winner. Not bad. And you know what, Bam? I kept him out of my fantasy team this week. Chris Ashley beat me, by the way, in fantasy. If you haven't joined the fantasy league, join the fantasy league. Join the fantasy league. You can defeat me because I'm really hurting this year. I think my problem in the fantasy league is that I post my lineup and then I don't change it. And then everybody can sit there, kind of like what Chris did, is go, oh, okay, Nelson's lineup is locked in. I've got a lead. I'll match his lineup and then not worry about it. And so that way you beat me because I post my lineup and I walk away. So that's why I'm like hovering near the bottom of the relegation zone right now in our OG relegation league. But middle of the table in the fantasy league, the Jason Wright Agency, Wright with a W agency on Facebook, Jason Wright with a WAGEN on Twitter, and you can join the fantasy league. Let's see, gossip, rumor, and innuendo before we go. So that means going here and talking about player transfers and what to watch on TV and all those other kinds of things. So Manchester United interested in Gonzalo Ramos from Benfica. He's got a release clause of 120 million euro. It'd be another good piece of business for Benfica. Striker Evan Ferguson, 18, will turn down a move to Manchester United because the Republic of Ireland international thinks staying at Brighton will be better for his development. That's from the 3-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Meanwhile, Manchester United will consider David Raya from Brentford as an alternative to David De Gea, who is yet to agree to a new deal. Chelsea willing to pay £100 million for top target Victor Osimhen of Napoli. Fabrizio Romano reporting Chelsea are in discussions with N'Golo Kante over a 2-year deal with an option of a further year. And we mentioned the Anthony Barry situation. Arsenal prioritizing another attempt to sign Brighton and Ecuador midfielder Moises Caicedo. We know what the release clause was there. We know about the interests of Brighton. Villa, Newcastle, and Brighton interested in signing Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, whose contract at Liverpool expires at the end of the year. That's from the 4-letter paper. Once again, take the information at your own peril. Newcastle interested in signing James Ward-Prowse. Everybody should be interested in signing James Ward-Prowse if Southampton gets relegated. James Ward-Prowse should be able to determine his future and get paid for his special work that he does on set pieces. South Korean defender Kim Min-jae linked with Manchester United, but he says he's not interested in rumors about his future. Wants to focus on playing for Napoli. 4-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Barcelona have ruled themselves out of signing Ruben Neves this summer. Sergi Busquets is still yet to agree to a new deal at Barca. Could move to Major League Soccer. Once again, that's from Mundo Deportivo. That story continues to get legs. Manchester City believe Ilkay Gundogan does not want to stay with the club with the 32-year-old negotiations with Barcelona about joining them when this contract runs out in the summer. I still want to know how Barcelona thinks they're going to pay these folks. Next, Barcelona do not want Dani Olmo to renew his contract at RB Leipzig so they can sign him on a free when his current deal ends in 2024. Chelsea and Arsenal will go head-to-head in a battle to sign Amadou Onana from Everton after his impressive start to his career at Goodison Park. And the head of the Brazilian FA has claimed that Carlo Ancelotti is the perfect man to replace Tite as coach of the national team. Interesting idea. Would Ancelotti leave Real Madrid? That's the question. Would he leave Real Madrid? Other paper talk, once again avoiding the 3 and the 4-letter paper, as we always do. Daily Express, Real Madrid could have a major input on who Tottenham appoint as their next manager, with Pochettino and Nagelsmann linked with both clubs. Spurs reportedly will have to trim down their short list of replacements, with De Zerbi supposedly unlikely to say yes. Manchester United attempted to sign Fiorentina midfielder Sofiane Amrabat in January before Sabitzer joined on loan. And the word that Kim has used at Napoli about Manchester United rumors, nonsense. The Athletic, Ornstein on Monday, another must-read. Manchester United winger Anthony Elanga has admitted he's been frustrated by his lack of playing time this year. And Bayern Munich have made an official approach now to Chelsea for Anthony Barry. We discussed the Anthony Barry situation. And Daily Mirror, Ukraine supporters took aim at Vladimir Putin in song and symbolically as their national team took on England at Wembley on Sunday. Did you see where folks were taking wheelbarrows of paint that were blue and yellow and dumping the paint on the street in front of the Russian embassy in London? And folks would drive over the paint to help spread the paint out. So you'd have like a lane of the blue paint and a lane of the yellow paint. And folks literally would be driving in both of those lanes to help spread the paint out in front of the embassy in London. Very, very cool and very thoughtful thing going on there. Very, very thoughtful. Very, very cool visual, by the way, if you missed it. Let's see. Daily Star mentions Manchester United eyeing up a big money summer swoop for Alexander Mitrovic. But they were eyeing it up, but they changed their tack after the red card in the FA Cup. And Everton's alleged breach of the Premier League profit and sustainability rules likely to center on the costs related to the new £500 million stadium and the impact of COVID-19. Now, my question is here, and this is for Ropes, and this is for Tom Russo. Why, while I know, absolutely, Hutch, Slava Ukraine, why would you build a new stadium knowing your financial situation was what it was, knowing that your ownership situation was tenuous on the international front with the associations that are there, and then it appears, and like I said, correct me if I'm wrong, but it appears that the focus has been more on building the stadium instead of having money for transfers, which Sean Dyche bemoaned in the January window, saying, okay, so, we'll have to do what we got. I mean, this might be a larger question, once again, as we get closer to coming up with a decision on what we're seeing from Everton and this independent tribunal, because if you're looking at fines, you're fining somebody who's apparently in financial straits anyway and is posting losses in the hundreds and millions of dollars. But if you were to do a points deduction where things currently are in the Premier League, an absolute free fight, 9 teams separated by 4 points, every point is precious. depending upon the turnaround time of this independent panel and figuring out Everton and possible fines and why you're finding them, because if they're broke or they're massive loss, you're not getting that money. Everton right now is in 15th place, right in smack dab in the middle of all that madness. 9 teams, 4 points. It has never been like this. Folks have said this repeatedly about this run-in. Some folks have 12 matches left, some 11, some 10. Palace Wolves, 10 matches left. They're at 27 points. Leeds, 11 matches left. They're at 26, ahead of Everton and Forest on goal difference. Everton's in 15th. They are 2 points from safety. Leicester is at 25 points. They've lost 4 of 5. Lost 16 of 27. 25 points. Relegation zone is West Ham and Bournemouth. Bournemouth has a massive goal difference, so they need wins. And Southampton, massive goal difference. They need wins. They're at 23 points. If Everton gets a 3-point deduction, then they would be in 19th place at 23 points, ahead of Southampton on goal difference by only 5. If it was worse than 3 points, if it was 5 or 10, it would be catastrophic. No word yet on how long it's going to take this tribunal or this independent panel to figure stuff out. But any kind of points deduction is bad. Anything over 3 points, 5 or 10, catastrophic. So I have to keep an eye on that when it comes to Everton and what they're having to go through. Daily Record, Dyson Maeda says he's withdrawing from the Japan squad so he can focus on making himself fit for a vital period at Celtic. And Christian Ramirez has opened up on his Aberdeen frustration as he marked his debut in MLS with a double and a 6-1 win. We know about the 6-1 win. And if I was C-Ram, I'd be mad too. Considering what Stephen Glass was using him and Jet for, and actually going up toe-to-toe against the teams at the top in the SPFL, in Celtic and Rangers. Probably we'll get into this with Jarrett tomorrow. I'll have to write this down. Christian Ramirez had every right to be frustrated because once Stephen Glass was dismissed from his time as Aberdeen manager and you brought in Jim Goodwin, for me, when it comes to Christian Ramirez, and I know this is probably a bit of a stretch when it comes to an analogy, but it's like when Steve Bruce had Miguel Almiron. I don't know what to do with him. Steve Bruce said that about Miguel Almiron. Then when you finally had Steve Bruce come to his senses, and then you had Eddie Howe definitely come to his senses, you've seen what Miguel Almiron can be. Christian Ramirez under Stephen Glass in a system that was going to compete was successful in the SPFL. Jim Goodwin comes in, doesn't know what to do with Christian Ramirez. Christian Ramirez had every damn right to be frustrated with what was going on at Aberdeen because it should have been a lot more. And when you have an ownership group that freaks, this is what happens. But Christian Ramirez has every single right to be frustrated. I'm going to see if I can dig up that stuff from the Columbus Dispatch, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. So, and once again from the Scottish Sun, Castori admits they underestimated the demands of supplying kits to Rangers after coming under fire from fans. Not quite what we're going to be seeing from Fanatis in the National Hockey League, I don't think, but Castori, you supply Newcastle, you got Rangers, you got some heavy hitters there. You got to figure out what you're going to do. So you've got all of that. What's going on today that you can watch? I think, Tofke, you need more strategic partners. I think you need more strategic partners. Not just necessarily better, but more. And I think that that just comes over time. And I want to see what it's going to look like with the new administration in Aberdeen, meaning coach. I want to see what the new manager does, what it looks like, or is it going to be more of the same as like we saw with Jim Goodwin? Because Jim Goodwin was totally frustrating as someone who had no idea what he wanted to do. Or he knew what he wanted to do, it just wasn't doing it very well. And it wasn't very proactive for any kind of success for Aberdeen. And so now that you've got me, thank you, Castor. Thank you. Yes, Castor. Castores. It's the Paisan influence that's around me. SPFL. All right. Actually, let's go here. Check the places in the SPFL table. Scotland Premiership. All right. So right now, standings in the Premiership in the SPFL. Yes, we know it's Celtic and Rangers and everybody else. Aberdeen is 3 points from the drop, 4 points out of third. So it is the standard race. Hearts is in third place. They got a 4-point cushion. After 29 matches, Aberdeen is 3 points away from the drop and having to go through that bottom half playoff. So 13, 14, and 2. Goal difference of -6, but Aberdeen 3 points away from having to be in that lower half with folks like Dundee United, Ross County, Kilmarnock, Motherwell, St. Johnston, and St. Mirren. St. Mirren's the one that you need to focus on. St. Mirren's is 1 point from safety. Livingston, Hibs, and Aberdeen are right there. Hearts has a bit of space. And Aberdeen has had to do this by winning 4 of 5. So, yeah, Aberdeen's in a bit of a stressful spot when it comes to what's going on. All right, so what to watch today before we go? And thanks for hanging out and dropping by. Like I said, I hope everybody's safe. I hope everybody that you know is safe, especially with the madness that's been going on in Mississippi and Alabama and West Georgia. We've got watches and warnings already, posted today. Early this morning, it was in South Georgia and in South Carolina. So everybody be safe. BN has African Cup of Nations qualifying at noon and 4. And if you don't have BN or BN Connect, you can get it by getting Fanatis, ftz.co/soccer down here. Helps out the show. Gets you a subscription to Fanatis. I got hooked. Euro qualifying, Ireland and France is at 2:45 on FS1. Tonight, it's the back end of USA and El Salvador at 7:30. The window with the big win over Grenada, 7-1. El Salvador, you've qualified. Who plays? Miles Robinson was a healthy scratch. Would have been nice to know. 7:30 on TNT. Be in Espanol is your simulcast of Guinea-Bissau, Nigeria, and Sudan and Gabon. Gold TV has the Uruguayan Primera with Torque and Cerro Largo at 6. Tuda NA continues their wall-to-wall with CONCACAF Nations League. Dominican Republic, Belize at 6. Trinidad, Tobago, Nicaragua at 8. Guatemala, French Guiana at 10. Universo is your Spanish partner for USA El Salvador. Fox Soccer Plus has a Euro qualifying Netherlands and Gibraltar. Will Gibraltar score at 2:45? Fubo has 6 matches at 2:45. And most of them look pretty one-sided. Paramount Plus is wall-to-wall with CONCACAF Nations League. 3 o'clock, St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the Bahamas. 2 at 6, Dominican Republic, Belize, St. Kitts and Nevis, Aruba. St. Lucia, Dominica at 7. Trinidad, Tobago, Nicaragua at 8. Guatemala, French Guiana at 10. And Peacock is also running USA and El Salvador at 7:30. So that is your run for today. That is our run for today. As we've gone through a lot. We will continue to go through it again tomorrow. Ricky, don't know. Will Miles play tonight, or will U.S. Soccer find a way to get us mad again, or both? My guess is both. Traditional week here at SDH. We're shooting for a match for a game of the week on Tuesday. So we'll keep an eye on that. And Starsmell McIntosh on Thursday. So it's a very, very busy week as we get toward the end of the high school season, and we'll keep you posted on possible Tuesday match and Thursday, Starsmill and McIntosh. That one is going to be a war. It's going to be a fun one to broadcast at 5:30, 7:30. We'll keep you posted on times if they change. But games of the week here on the high school ranks here on the SDH app, here at soccerdownhere.net, on the Spreaker app. Find Soccer Down Here for those of you who are on Apple, and you can do it there. You can download it on the Google Play Store as well. So for everybody here at SDH, for Jason, for Jarrett, for Nick, I'm just John. Played safe, everybody. Stay dry, stay safe. May all of those who are with you stay safe and well as well. We'll be back again 9:05 Tuesday morning to do it all over again. We'll be talking Tuesday thoughts, whatever's left over on your mind from the weekend. We'll talk about it there. Talk about anything else on your mind because that's what Tuesdays are for. So Since it's the end of the show, it means I get to do this. Play it safe, everybody. We'll see you at 9:05 tomorrow.